The second form of writing we're going to deal with is the concept called myth. Now, of course, myth gets a very bad reputation within the society as a whole. And why? Well, society has got all itself about science and about scientific fact and about proven concepts. But of course, the truth of it is that we're dealing with the relationship between the people and God. We're dealing with supernatural concepts, supernatural being that which is above or other than the natural world. So yes, in the natural world, we can talk about science. In the natural world, we can talk about experimentation, and we can talk about evolution, and we can talk about all these other things which are all scientific concepts. But we need to realize that the Bible is not written as a scientific manual. In fact, Genesis 1 to 11, and that's really where you find most of the concepts of myth, really are written from a position of faith rather than of science. And being a position of faith rather than science means that we can then talk about this concept called myth. And we can talk about it without cringing, without being upset about it, without feeling that somehow we're undermining the truth or the factual nature of Genesis 1 to 11. There are many people today, many people in the Christian church who believe in Adam and Eve, who believe that Eden was a real place, who believe that they did try to build the Tower of Babel and that God frustrated the builders of the Tower of Babel by giving them all different languages. And that's where the different languages of the world come from. People believe that there was Noah and an ark, and the ark did rest on Mount Ararat, and that all the world's animals did come in 2 by 2 into the ark. And once the flood was finished, all the animals came back out again and spread out from that part of the world throughout the whole world and populated the world. Now, I'm not disputing the factual nature of any of that. What I am disputing is to look at Genesis 1 to 11 as fact. What we need to understand is that Genesis 1 to 11 was not written as a scientific handbook. First of all, we need to acknowledge that in fact the people who wrote Genesis 1 to 11 were writing in a period of history which was before scientific exploration, before that scientific connections of factual nature of things. In fact, even from its own perspective, in Genesis chapter 1, it says that on the first day God did this, on the second day God did that, but it really was only on the third day that God actually created the sun, which acknowledges the concept of a day in the first place. What we need to see is that if we're asking the questions of how things happened and what happened exactly, Genesis 1 to 11 can't give us the answers we're looking for. Instead, what we need to come to terms with is that the writers are writing in a form of writing called myth. And so what is myth? Myth is a story based in some form of reality, based in some real experience, but wanting to talk about or to explain or to explore the relationship of the creation with the Creator. Essentially, it's the interaction of the supernatural of God in the natural in the world. And so that's what those stories are. They are stories of relationship rather than stories of science. I believe that once we get them into science, once we start arguing them as scientific manuals, that's when we get ourselves into all kinds of arguments where there is no winner. And the reason for that is that the science fraternity looks at the natural, we look at the environment of faith. And so when you read myth, let's not ask the wrong questions. Let's not ask what happened or how long it took to happen or how that was actually done. Let's rather ask, why is this written like this? What are the components of it? What is it trying to teach us about our relationship with God? What is it trying to teach us about the nature of that relationship? In that way, mythology becomes more than just the story. Rather, the story becomes a container for our understanding of our faith and of a relationship with that which is other, that which is supernatural.